Father God, we just want to say thank you for today. Thank you for our lives. Thank you for who you are. Lord, we just ask you that tonight, as we share our experiences, we share our time together, that it will create a meaningful dialogue and a meaningful time of reflection for everything that you showed us and all the things that we experienced. And I pray that we'll have fun tonight and just discuss the amazingness and your goodness, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Mhm.
Sorry to interject. I just if people can turn on their cameras, that'd be nice if possible. I know, some of you not possible, but if you can, it'd be great.
Technical difficulties, trying to figure out why it's not powering on.
No worries. Take your time.
All right, I guess my wife is giving me the cue. All right, Ghana 2025. Um, I'm sure some of you guys were seeing a lot of our little snaps and social media clips of our experience over there. So we decided to kind of take you through a journey tonight of some of our experiences, some of our time shared together, and some of the connections that we made while we were over there. Um, and yeah, so I'll just start it off. Why Ghana, right? So Ghana is where Mike and I are from, and it's in West Africa. Ghana used to be called the Gold Coast before it was changed to Ghana because of its vast mineral resources for gold and other resources. And the reason why we chose to go, uh, initially, uh, Dijah and I always wanted to visit. It was always been a part of our conversation, but the right time never kind of came. We kind of kept, yeah, we'll do it, but nothing ever became concrete. So, Mike had planned to go in May to honor his dad passing with his family. So we said, hey, maybe we should just all go together, just try to kind of support each other throughout the trip. So I guess that kind of catapulted everything and made it all come together. And before we knew, people was like, hey, you guys are going to Ghana? Let's go to Ghana too. So we had, Reniece was coming with Mike, and then Renice's friend Shanice, who is wearing the orange tracksuit, decided to jump along. And then Dijah spoke to Shani, and
So
Shani,
I have to
huh?
preface that Shani I invited like 3 to 4 weeks, I think, before the trip. And I called her and I'm like, Shani, I'm going to Ghana. Do you want to come? And Shani goes, what? Really? She goes, I'll think about it. And anyways, she actually ended up coming on the trip. So I just wanted to put that little story there.
Yep, Shani was all vibes. And then we had our beautiful in-laws, my in-laws. So Dijah's parents, that was a long story, but we'll cut it short. Um, they wanted to have this opportunity to visit Ghana because, they would never think of another time to go again. And of course, they have FOMO, they don't want a fear of missing out. So they're like, hey, we got to do this. And Dijah's dad was very adamant, like he really wanted to have that experience and, go somewhere he's never gone before. And it was very important for him to go. And obviously his wife got to go where he goes. So yeah, so that's the gang that started off, but obviously we got a little bit bigger as time went on.
You have to
Uh,
explain.
eh, huh?
So we have to explain how Shanice on the trip too.
Reniece.
Yes.
Well, we were all going on the trip. I have a friend named Shanice, as you can see in the picture. She's my childhood friend, more like a sister. And I had introduced her to Dijah and Jonas. So we became like a little group that like just hangs out, fellowship, like go to events together and just hanging out, I guess. And she heard we were going to Ghana, and like it's always been her dream to like go to Africa to experience the culture and just the history and things of that nature. So it kind of just as time went on, like of just preparing for the trip, she just like got intrigued with it, and Dijah and Jonas were like, hey, if you want to come, then why not come? And I think like at first she didn't really think that she was actually going to end up coming, but I mean, God worked it out and we all ended up going to Ghana.
I'm gonna explain from my side too.
Go ahead.
So Jonas and Dijah were going to Ghana in April. That was their plan. I had no plans of going to Ghana whatsoever. He told me about it. I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. Show Dijah where we came from, right? And then all of a sudden, my mom came to me saying, "Oh, your father's family want to throw a celebration of life for him in Ghana." So I was asking them what date. So they said, by the way, the dates changed like 3 times. So the first day was May 7th. So I spoke to Brian about it. I didn't speak to Jonas about it yet. I spoke to Brian, and Brian's like, wait, Jonas and Dijah are going in April. Maybe you should talk to them and figure out if y'all can just go together. I'm like, yeah, good idea.
Oh,
You're muted, Michael.
Can y'all see me?
Okay. Yeah.
I have to use my data. My work Wi-Fi is yes. Anyways, so as I was saying, Brian told me to talk to Jonas and Dijah, about it to see if we can all go together. I'm like, yeah, good idea. So I called Jonas and I told Jonas, oh, my mom said that we're planning on going to Ghana in May to celebrate my dad's life. So Jonas is like, okay, just let me know the dates and then we can put on our vacation. So first they said May 7th, then they changed it to May 15th, and they locked in for May 15th. So Jonas and I and all of us booked our days off for May 15th, and we plan on going for 2.5 weeks. Um, so I told Reniece about it, and Reniece wanted to come. So she tagged along, and then she already told you how she told Shanice, and then Dijah told Shani, the parents tagged along, and yeah. But then closer to that day, we already like booked our vacations, we got it approved, we bought our tickets, and then like 2 weeks before that day, my mom comes to me telling me that they pushed it back to June 7th. So I was very upset because we've already done booked our vacation, and then they moved the date again closer to after like locking it in for like a month or two. So I spoke to Jonas about it. I spoke to Brian about it, how upset I was, and they told me like, you know what? Maybe you're just not meant to be there. Maybe it was God's will for you to not be there. But all you got to do is thank God and just go and y'all just have a good time. So yeah, that's my backstory.
You
and
guys let
DJ,
me know whenever to change a slide.
wait, explain the
Okay, you
scripture.
can change it.
No, hold on one
But the
second.
scripture? Go ahead.
Oh, so while leading up to going to Ghana, I was kind of like nervous, but excited, but like, oh my God, I want to go to Ghana, but also I can't believe I'm going to Ghana. I don't know what to expect. And I think I had spoken to Brian, and Brian had brought up this scripture to me from Mark 16:15, and it said, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. And basically, our conversation just went around him just talking about exposure and being exposed to, different parts of the world and cultures, and how that ties into sharing God's word and what God can do to and through you. So I just want to preface that. Yeah, I went into the trip kind of like with that scripture in mind from my conversation I had with Brian prior. Yeah.
Slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, hold on.
You want the video played or?
No, just go back to
Yeah.
purpose first.
Got you.
Yeah. Because I think if you hit it too fast, it'll skip it twice.
Yeah.
So you have to hit it once. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I guess just to recap, I guess for Mike and I, it was a really big deal going back to Ghana. Because previously we've been to boarding school in Ghana like many 12, 13 years ago. And it was not under our will. And it was, backstory, every
Yeah.
African child has that, parents have this threat that they give to the kids, if they're misbehaving or if they're a bad kid, quote unquote. There's this whole thing, we're gonna ship you to Africa and you're gonna go to
Mm-hmm.
boarding school, all right? So it's this threat that
Yeah.
was always held over our heads, to try to get you in line and get you in shape. So Mike and I happened to be there close to around the same time. And, after 12 years, we've never been back to Ghana ever since that, call it trauma or whatever you call it. But, we just, for whatever reason, just didn't end up going there or couldn't go there till this time around. So it was a pretty big deal going back. It was a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, a lot of reflections, not knowing what to expect. And, your mind is all over the place of what you think is gonna happen, what you expect is gonna happen. So that was our kind of main reason, was just like visiting the land after all these years to see what it has become or what it is, how are we gonna experience it when we go back for the very first time in a long time. So that was our main purpose, but other people have their own purposes, of course.
Um, to chime in on that. So for me, my purpose, Jonas pretty much said majority of it, but yeah, we went to boarding school. Now to mind y'all, boarding school felt like prison. There was no TV, there was no phones, there were no laptops. It was just you, your books, and your Bible. That's it. And taking like out of 12 months of the year, you're in school for 11 months. So you only get 1 month of summer, which is August. And you're literally going 11 months without any form of technology. You're even lucky if you get to watch TV. So from my perspective, it felt like jail. And when I went home, I didn't do anything exciting. I just stayed home and stayed in my room or conversed with family, and that was it. I didn't really go anywhere special. So in my mind, I always looked at Ghana as jail, like going to jail. You know what I'm saying? So that was my reason for not going back for so long. And from time to time, people will ask me, "Oh, would you go back?" I'm like, "Nah, I'll never go back," just based on what I experienced. But
Mhm.
then at this point, when I saw that opportunity to go back, when God opened that door for me to go back, um, I told myself, you know what? Let me go back and see how it is now, because back then I was a kid, but now I'm going as an adult. So I understood that it will be different than before, you know? And also like I wanted to like go back and experience Ghana for myself on my own terms. Just to have a lot of like closure. So yeah, that was my purpose.
I guess I'll
I
go.
think, sorry, but
No,
I
it's
think for some of us who, like, of course, are not from there, and like me and Dijah alike are both like from the Caribbean, and so is Shanice and Shani as well. So for us, like experiencing a new culture, but also experiencing like the history that has also impacted us and our ancestors. So just experiencing like the history of Ghana, but also like the culture, the food, learning a new language, trying new foods, and just being able to also experience and witness from the outside, like Michael and Jonas's experience, because we've always heard like stories of like their trauma and things they've been through regarding Ghana, but like actually going with them now to the places, the very places that traumatized them, and meeting some of the people who had like such a big impact in like their life and their childhood and their experience in Ghana. It just was like, I guess not knowing what to expect, like, or even knowing like what to expect from Jonas or Michael in terms of them going back there after so long. So I guess for me, I was just like really excited to see them in their element and like experience the culture more.
Yeah, I think like very similar to Reniece, like going to Ghana, like Jonas, no, I always wanted to go because I feel like he's been to the Bahamas, so it's only right that I go where he's from. And I think I was more looking forward to just kind of like, he always tells me stories about Ghana, so it's just to like put the story to reality per se. And I think it's just also to break the barrier of what I thought Africa or Ghana is like, because I've only ever read about Africa or seen it on TV. So I feel like it's definitely visiting now, it's definitely corrected a few perceptions I've had of Africa. And then obviously the culture, like Renice already mentioned, like the food, the way they speak, the way they live, how they are. Um, so yeah, but I guess my main purpose to going to Ghana is just to to just be exposed and to see where Jonas was from and to see him in his homeland and and yeah, so that was my purpose.
All right, next slide, Nick. So you guys play and then we'll talk at the end.
Oh my God.
Oh, look at them.
All right. Mike, I thought he handed you money at the end. I don't know. I was like, what did he
Nah.
give you?
I'll just say that like this experience of these dancers, like I always seen it like in social media and online. And I always told Michael I wanted to see this. And then like Michael will always be like, oh, this is for like upper echelon people who pay for it. It's experience, like we're not gonna see them. And then I told him like leading up to Ghana, like I want to see like these dancers to see the culture. And then ironically coming up to the airport, they were there. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
that
gonna lie. The moment I the moment I heard the ding ding
The
ding
drums and
ding
everything.
ding, I took advantage of that opportunity because I knew it will never happen again. So I just got into the flow of dancing, and then I started when I seen that they approved of my dancing, it just, it got me more hyped up to want to dance with them. So, and the thing is, other people pay for them to do it, and I kind of invaded it, but they liked it too. So,
Yeah, they did.
yeah, it was nice.
so the word you see there is aquaba. So that is a Ghana tree word for welcome or welcome home or welcome to the space. So if you go to Ghana, a lot of people, you hear that term a lot. Aquaba, aquaba, just means welcome or welcome to where you're at. And the dance is just a traditional dance. Usually it's serenaded for like someone, like honoring someone or somebody of high esteem or high value. So you'll see it a lot in the Ashanti region. So that's a region in Ghana where you'll see a lot of traditional Ghanaian, cultural practices of the land because they have a king that rules the whole land. And so you'll see a lot of cultural elements when you visit um, Ashanti region. Um, yeah, so Ghana is our flag is right there. So the red represents the blood. Oh,
Sorry,
the
just
red
causing some
represents
background. So.
the blood that was fought for the motherland. The yellow represents the gold that represents the Gold Coast originally for Ghana. And the green represents the forestry and the agriculture of the land. And the black star is just like the symbol of the people. And being that they they take up identity as a Black star and that they're their own individuals. That even though they're Black, they still stand out and they still shine. And that's just a little map of Ghana in its different regions. So we were in Accra, which is the little small piece there, Greater Accra region. And then that's the other regions of Ghana that you can visit, which has their own culture, their own languages, and their own little, sectors and pieces. So, and you'll see the little girl wearing like a traditional kente. So what she's wearing is a traditional cloth called kente. And so it's worn usually at like special events or, important moments in life or birthday celebrations, things like that. So Ghana, they wear a lot of jewelry, a lot of gold, of course, and gold is very important to the people there. It doesn't necessarily only symbolize fashion, but it says prestige of wealth and like, just honoring that person with gold. So you'll see that the Asante King has a lot of gold when he's traveling around, or people wear a lot of gold. It's just to show the culture of the land and the people, yeah. Next slide.
I
Huh?
have, wait, 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 I have to say, leading up to going to Ghana, Jonas and I like we were like planning the itinerary, and he's like, "Oh, like we have to do 2 weeks, 2 weeks." And usually when I travel, like I only do like 10 days. And I think I never understood like how huge Ghana was. And we were literally just in that little section there that's called Accra, where the red, I guess where that red point is. And Jonas always is like, teacher, like, you don't understand how big Ghana is. Like, there's so much to do. There's so much to do. And I think like now looking at the map and like being there and us doing so much, like now I could truly say like it's huge. Like you can be there for like a month. Like it's crazy. So just wanted to say that.
Next slide. Oh, no.
Sorry.
Um, Culture, I guess we can all speak to this. So these are just various images of shots that we took in Ghana of like just displaying how the people live and how the people operate. So I just want to share this as part of my experience. So um, Ghana really opened my eyes to understanding that like the people are very driven, right? And nobody's gonna give you a handout. That's the principle I learned. No one's gonna give you a handout. No one's gonna feed you, and no one's gonna put money in your pocket. You have to go out every single morning, every single day, and make it work. You gotta hustle. You have to sell products, sell something to earn money to feed your family. So when you go to Ghana, you're gonna see a lot of people selling merchandise, so selling all kind of things just to bring back money to feed their families, to pay the bills and do whatever they got to do. And each region or each section of the city, you can see people selling different items, selling different things, if not food, jewelry, clothing, refreshments, fruits, meat, uh,
Dogs.
dogs. Yeah, there are people selling dogs. So basically, it's just like people everybody's working to earn and provide, right? There's not a lot of laziness. There's not a lot of, handouts. Nobody's gonna pat you on your back. You gotta go out there and feed and make money, earn your keep and make it work, right? Because you can stand out all day and you don't have any money to give. You don't have any money to take back with you, right? And they have to stand there 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, making sure that they try to sell this merchandise. Otherwise, they can't feed their family. They can't go home, right? So that's a picture of a lady selling like bread or cake, something like it looks like bread to me. There's a stand behind there of slippers, someone selling. That little cart has pure water, so that's a water in a sachet. So it's just like our version of like quick water you can buy in a little bag. Um, and then there's watermelon. Somebody was selling watermelon. And then we always talk about bush meat. We always used to laugh at Brian, like Africans eat bush meat. So that last picture at the right is called bush meat. It's people that hunt these big giant rats looking things in the bush and they sell the meat because it's a very popular dish in Ghana. People eat it with like soup and all kind of things, right? And then there's the black star again, just symbolizing the country and identity and freedom. So you guys can speak to it as well if you want.
Yeah, for me, living in Ghana for 4 years, it taught me a lot about humble beginnings. Even seeing my mom's village, where my mom and dad's village, where they grew up in, they just grew up in like a like very small room, you know what I'm saying? And in that room, there's no lights, there's no electricity. Like they probably use like some sort of, I don't know what to use back then to have some sort of light when it's dark, but there were no rooms, it was just one room. And they used to sleep on the floor, you know, and my family's big. Like my dad had many brothers, my mom had many sisters. So like it just taught me a lot about humble beginnings and how much grateful I should be to be in the position I'm at for like my parents to come out of that country and bring their kids here for a better opportunity, because just seeing that made me realize that I have to be grateful, you know, because my parents came from nothing, like really and truly. And the fact that it's hard to even make money in Ghana and hustle and save, the fact that they're able to do all of that just to give us an opportunity to be born and raised here, it's very it's just crazy to me, you know. So it taught me a lot about humble beginnings. Another thing that Jonas mentioned is how people hustle every day. Like no one's gonna give you a handout, no one's just gonna, you know, feel bad for you and lend you money. Like you gotta go out there and work. And to mind you, like it's 35 to 40 degrees out there every single day. And these people, like the woman in the top left picture, they're literally like on the roadside, walking back and forth, selling what they're selling just to make some money to feed their family and to give their kids a better life. You know what I'm saying? So and in Ghana, everyone's selling something. Everybody's hustling, trying to get by. So it taught me a lot about humble beginnings and just how grateful I should be to be in the position that I'm in now, you know? So yeah. And it also taught me a lot about being more of a like not having an excuse, you know, about life and stuff. So yeah.
I think for me personally, and like I said, not being from a country and then going to a country that you've never been to, just seeing like the culture is kind of a culture shock because you don't know exactly what you're gonna expect besides like what Dijah said, like what you know from like a history book or what you know from seeing on social media or whatever it is. So actually being there and like seeing like them even selling and the fact that they're carrying these things on their head, and most people who are doing these things, they're not using their hands or anything like that. They're kind of just balancing this on their head, like this heavy, and it's very normal. They're walking around, they're turning their head with like these massive, like whatever it is, water or like heavy things that they're carrying just so that they can sell and provide for their family. So I think that for me was like a big culture shock, and just seeing like the things that you could even like purchase on the roadside, like you might not even need to go to a store, and like just the convenience that it brings. If you're even driving in your car, someone can change your window wipers while your car is driving on the side of the road, and like that's kind of a normal thing. So it's kind of like me seeing like very mundane things for someone who lives there, but me coming into the culture, it was kind of like we're kind of fascinated by every little thing like we were able to see, and just like being in the moment but still like trying to capture these moments because it was such like we were such in awe of like the culture and the people.
I don't want to repeat too much because I think we all kind of like had a similar experience.
Yeah.
But like for me, coming like I can't even explain this. Like when you land and like you get into the car and like you're driving, like everyone said, like there are people selling stuff to you everywhere. And for me, like in my background of like being around millionaires and billionaires at my workplace, like coming from Canada to that, it was, guys, like it was the huge culture shock because there were times that we were in the bus and we just wanted to give just for giving's sakes because like they've been out in the sun for like 12 hours just trying to sell something to make money to, like just for
Even children
even children will come to the bus and they're like knock on the doors
selling.
like and the most beautiful thing in the culture of it all is that they still find the joy. Like they might knock on your door, but like they're smiling, like you still see kids playing, like you know what I mean? Like they still find the joy in what they're living in and how things are. And it was just hard to just see because you think about your life in Canada and like you have so many options. You have an option to choose whether or not you want Wendy's, McDonald's, or this, or you have an option to choose to buy this. There, they don't really have options. And just to see the way of life and like the culture and them still finding joy in everything, like it was just a lot for me to intake. Like it was literally like day and night for me in terms of like the culture there and being in the culture in Canada. And I think God also showed me like just like the importance of giving. Because like, why is it that it took me to go to Africa to want to give more? You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but the whole aspect, and I'm still praying to God about it, but you just want like the spirit of giving is just way more, I don't know how to explain it, enhanced there, but I guess we'll get into it a bit later. But I just wanted to share that as well.
And I just want to add one more part. Um, Seeing all this stuff, I've lived around it, but this gave me a reminder of how grateful to God we should be and how much we should thank God every single day through good and bad. Because over here, we might be complaining about bills and money and all that type of stuff, but we don't understand what other people in the world are going through, right? Especially going to Ghana. We don't understand any of their situations there. We don't understand what they're going through and how hard it is for them to get by. But it really humbled me and had me understand how much I should thank God for what I have, good or bad, because who knows, I could have been in the same position they're in. And even like Dijah said, in the midst of the position that they're in, they still find joy and happiness, right? So it's just a reminder that no matter what you're going through, understand that, like you should thank God because it could be worse, you know? So in the midst of what we're going through, we should always be grateful and thankful and be joyful to God because, it's by God's grace that we're even in the position to have the opportunity to, get by. So that's what God showed me as I was there.
Hmm.
You can switch, Nick.
So this Kwewu, the little history behind the name, as my mom explained to me. So the name Kwewu is the region in central region. So it's about 3 hours drive from Accra to Kwewu. And the name Kwewu came because when the British first invaded Ghana, they had a fort or a territory on top of the mountain. And if the locals ever tried to go up that mountain or they were trespassing, they would get shot. So the word Kwewu literally means to go and die. So it's a broken down term to mean to go and die. So when they saw people were going up the mountain and they were dying, they say, "Hey, don't go up there, you're gonna die." So that's where the name derived from, Kwewu. So,
Wait.
all right, so go to the next slide, Nick. All right, so there is the highest point in West Africa. So it's the highest mountain in West Africa that you can actually climb and scale. And so we had a good opportunity to connect with somebody that allowed us to be able to view it because it was actually closed. But luckily there was someone there to kind of show us a little bit of the mountain. And I'm telling you, it's the most breathtaking view you've ever seen in your life, I'm sure. Like it's so amazing. And you could see the whole town from that plane. And yeah, it's just breathless. It's just one of those breathless experiences, and it was amazing to be up there. So during the Easter, they have like a lot of activities in the town. They have like paragliding, so people can pay for people to parachute them down the mountain. There's a
Mm.
lot of parties, there's a lot of festivities, and so that town is very lively in April. It's known for its festive time. Um, and yeah, it was a great time to see. We had a chance to hike. Some of us made it down the mountain. Some of us did not make it down the mountain uh, because it was hot and like it was Michael described it to you. It was very harsh conditions to go hiking down that mountain. But just being up there was very beautiful to see all the plateau of the mountains and very peaceful, very calming, very quiet, and it was very amazing.
Mm.
You go, ready? Next? You good? Okay, next. All right. So this is some photos that we had of when we went out to breakfast in the morning. So this is still in Kwewu, but this is in a place called Rock City. So Rock City is just a resort that they just built a couple years ago. I guess to try to bring tourism to the town and bring some kind of advancement. So we had an opportunity to visit, have some food, which took forever to come. But it was all right. It was cool views. I guess it was pretty cool. And that's my uncle at the wearing the white linen shirt. So my uncle's from there. He grew up there his whole life. He comes there every year with his family during the Easter. And it was a good time. And he took us out for breakfast the following morning on his dime, just to say, appreciating us, welcoming us to his hometown. Some very good breakfast that, Mike will tell you all about it. And it was a good time. And being in Kwewu, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, this is the magical moment. So driving up here, so this is a town that my mom, my uncles, and my cousins are from. It's called Abetifi. So it's a small town in Kwewu. And so this is where my grandparents stay. This is their house that they built from many, many, many years ago. My parents grew up, my mom grew up in that house, my uncles grew up in that house. Me and my brother used to come and stay here when we were kids. When, we had summer break and whatever, if my dad was busy and he had to go drop us off so that, we stay with my grandma. So coming here was a bit of anxiety for me, because there's a lot of trauma that happened with me and my brother when we were here, as kids growing up here, and being left alone. Like my dad and mom would leave us here for months. My grandma she's a hard lady at times, so she'd be putting us to work and, we farming. She has a big farm in the back there. So we'll be helping her farm, and chase after chickens and do all kind of things as kids. So I remember praying to God, like, I wonder if I was gonna be okay coming back to this place. I was like, I had a bit of anxiety, but I remember the day before I just told God, like, man, you like it doesn't matter. Like that's over and done with, and I moved on. And I accept that it happened, and I moved on with me and my brother. And it's been so many years, and I guess I didn't know what to expect. So when we got there, my uncle brought us there with the driver, and my grandma opened the gate. She was jumping up and down like she was 20 years old, 30 years old. And she's almost 90, 89, I think so. And she's old, like she was jumping up with joy. Like it was amazing to see. Like I'm like, man, I didn't even know you missed me that much. So it was just so interesting, like just having that moment with her because she was so happy. Like I had never seen her this happy I mean, I guess it's been a long time, but like she just had so much joy and so much happiness to see us, see me. And so it was just amazing to capture that moment for everybody to see. And I'm just glad like I had a lot of peace. Like God gave me a lot of peace being in that environment and being able to be there and I thought I'd be triggered, and but I was actually really fine, and I was really happy at being there, and I was very calm, and walking around the premises just brought some childhood memories, and being a little kid running around everywhere. So yeah, that was really cool. And so my grandpa's there, but he was bedridden. He's actually really sick, so he can't get out. So he was in the bed in his room. So I went to go inside and sit down with him and talk with him. And he didn't remember me though, but we still had a good conversation, I guess, otherwise. But it was a good moment, of a full circle moment. And I think it was really nice to capture that. Thanks. Hmm?
I just wanted to say that the first initial look when she saw Brian, like, I mean, not Brian, when she saw Jonas, it was like so beautiful, guys. Like, I wish we had recorded the moment, like, she was jumping, so excited. Because, like, it's been 12 years since he's seen Jonas, and plus, Jonas is coming back with a wife, too. So I'm like, oh my God. But it was so beautiful. And I'm just so thankful that I was able to be there with Jonas as well, just to see his grandparents and visit where I guess he grew up. I felt like it just put a different perspective for me. And it just made me love Jonas so much in terms of just like how humble and giving and like caring he is. And I think like also just seeing the environment and the upbringing of like where Jonas was from, and I guess it made me see like how the environment and the upbringing kind of like shapes us, and just how God could just use every part of your story to form, your character and who you are as a person. So I think it was just really beautiful, and I was just happy to be there. Yeah.
Thanks. Like, all right. So back to childhood memories. I remember waking up at 6 a.m. every day, cold shower. There was no hot water back then, so you had to take it how you got it. 6 a.m. My grandma waking us up, cold showers, and remember we're in higher altitude, so we're in the mountains, so it's very cold in the morning. So it's like negative freezing. It's like, okay, not negative, but it's cold. So I remember like waking up early, like taking these cold plunges, wake you up in the morning, start your day. Me and my brother, waking up and then starting the day, running around, fooling around, playing around. Then we had a mango tree and a lemon tree right there. So my brother and I used to go pick up the tree and, just have some fruits, just run around for the day. And yeah, so this was humble beginnings. Like, seeing it again, I was like, wow, like after all these years, it's still intact. It's still there. So it was just crazy to see. Like, I was like telling these guys, like I used to bath here in the morning, with a bucket and a pail. We didn't have no shower heads. We didn't have no nothing that you just had a one bucket and one pail, and that's it. That was your water for the day, and you had to make it last. Oh, and then that pink thing is a sponge. So that's a Ghana sponge. So that's our traditional sponges that we use um
Sorry.
there. So all right, we can go to the next one next. All right, and these are more photos of my grandma on my dad's side. So they're in Accra in the main city. So that was my grandma when I surprised her. I didn't tell nobody I came to Ghana. I did it purposely because I didn't want nobody to know that I was there. I wanted to surprise certain people. So I didn't post for like the first like 3, 4 days because I didn't want my cousins or anybody to know because they have me on Facebook. So I was like, I'm trying to keep a low profile. But kind of weird because even though I wasn't posting on day one, I actually enjoyed it better because it made me more present in the moment and it made me appreciate the moment even better. I wasn't trying to capture the moment, I was trying to live in the moment. And I really appreciated that. So that was us surprising my grandma on my dad's side, and my aunt that lives there. So that's my aunt's hairdressing store, and those are my cousins on my one of my aunt's sides. So I grew up with them when we were all kids. We used to run around, joke around, play around. And yeah, so that's my dad's house actually. So he maintained it all these years for them to stay in. And my grandma and my auntie and my cousin stay there. So he's been developing it, trying to fix it up over the years so that, it's livable. And so when I used to close from school, I used to come over here, spend some days with my grandma, sit down with her, and she'd just tell me about like my childhood and tell me about my dad, tell me about my uncles and stuff. So it was a great place of knowledge just to kind of hear these stories. She's almost 80 years old. She has a lot of stories in her, a lot of experiences. So I love to hear, some of the stuff that she had to live throughout her life. And she told me a really cool, interesting story about my dad, and that my dad was really, really smart. He was the firstborn and he was very technical. Like he was very good at sports and he was very good at academics. And my grandma was telling me like, he was always the first in his class. He was like the top achiever, academics, and he was really, really good in sports, like really, really good to the point that he could have made the national soccer team, but they didn't have money. So when my grandpa died, my dad had to become the man of the house, and they didn't have money to send him to school. So he had to learn to sell fish by the roadside. So him and my grandma will go out in the morning and sell fish and sell other things because where they're from, they lived I guess, on the ocean line in the central region. So Cape Coast, that's where my dad is from. And that's more known for fishing and stuff like that. So they had to sell fish by the roadside every morning to feed the rest of the family. So she told me that my dad had to sacrifice his dream so that he could, look after the family and take care of his siblings and make sure everybody was good. And, he had to join the prisons later because that was the only thing available if you didn't really have a job and stuff. You had to join the army or join the corrections because it was just something you could do if you didn't really have much education. So my dad joined the correction services and he was very smart. He's very outstanding. He became uh, deputy superintendent at a young age in his 20s. And it's very rare to achieve that in your 20s because it takes people in their 40s and 50s to get to that. So he was very outstanding. And, that was a cool story that she told me. It made me kind of more grateful for him. All right, next. Okay, Cape Coast. Yeah, so we mentioned Cape Coast. So that's where we visited. It's a very fishing town. So it's known for a lot of fishing and water. It's right on the coast of the water in Ghana. It's another region. And it's known a lot for historically being a place of slavery. And that's a huge topic. We're not gonna dive into it too much, but it has two major castles that have been historically known for transatlantic slavery, with Elmina Castle and Cape Coast Castle. And that's where a lot of the slaves were shipped off to, the Caribbean, to North America, Canada, to the West Indies, wherever they had to go, that they were sold and bartered off for slavery. So the town, very beautiful, like a lot of fishing. You see a lot of boats on the water fishing and trying to catch so they could sell it in the market. And we got to experience that and driving there. It was really, really amazing to see. Nice. Okay, so I'll tell my part and I'll let Dijah share her part. So we were at a resort. It's called Lemon Beach Resort in Elmina. Elmina is one of the towns. I forgot what the name means, Mike, what the guy told us, the tour guide. Um, I think it means on the water or something like that, or the water, something like that. But anyways, so we went to go take a photo. We were walking through the resort and they have a little boardwalk, um, going for a boardwalk, and we were taking a photo, and these two little kids ran up to us like they were running, chasing us. We're like, hey, what's going on? And these kids followed us all the way from the castle to our resort. And they're like, yeah, we know you guys. We were at the castle. We're like, I don't remember seeing these kids. But anyways, so I guess they remember us somehow. So they were like came over, they're like so friendly, they were saying hello, asking us questions, where we're from, what's our names. And they wanted a photo, they wanted a selfie. So yeah, we just came over and we took some photos together. And yeah, they were really, really cool. Like I guess in that moment it would touch my heart because like these kids, like they had to make ends meet. They had to run over and even if it was to come ask for money, it was like they were just so humble about it and just like, just like, hey, I just want to feed my family for the day or help bring some money back home. So it was just cool to see. And like they were not shy. They were running on these rocks. These are dangerous rocks, man. Like these high tide, like these kids are running on these rocks. So it was just amazing to see, their desperation to just connect and my wife got a nice selfie.
Mm.
And no, I guess it was a setup, I guess, but it's what it was. They
I
they
don't
they
really
had their agenda and they completed their agenda, I guess.
Hmm.
yeah. I don't really have much to say, but like I mean, it put a smile on their face and like they were just so sweet. I don't really have much to say. Like
Yeah, it's cool. All right, next. Yeah, castle. So yeah, we learned a lot. So we visited two slave castles. Again, not to get too much into that. But these are historical sites you can see in Ghana if you want to learn about the history, slavery, and how Ghana was involved in it. Um, and Ghana was first colonized by the Portuguese, and then later on the British came to take it over. So there's a lot of like Portuguese, I guess, elements in Ghana. And then there's also
Dutch.
some Dutch as well. A lot of like interracial kids that were born as a result of the colonist people that were living there, peeps, with the locals and breeding within the locals. So it's a lot of interracial kids with, foreign last names. Um, yeah, so no, don't get too much into that, but yeah, there's just some historical sites you can see and the
Yeah.
door turn. And yeah,
I
so it's a
think
good way. Right?
I think just to add, like you said, not to get too much into it, but I think just having the experience of even going there and seeing those things and seeing it for yourself and actually hearing the true history of it rather than like what you're forced to learn in school and things of that nature and just being there, it's a very like surreal experience and just like the atmosphere of like even walking into the dungeon and like even like the tour guide like closing the door and seeing how dark it was and how little ventilation was in those rooms and knowing that they put like hundreds of people even some of those rooms that are like no bigger than what would be like your bedroom per se, so just going into those places and like seeing it with your own eyes and just walking through there and I guess feeling even how spiritual it is, all these things that like these people had to go through, even for us to now be where we're at. And yeah, it was just I guess a very eye-opening experience, but very heart-wrenching at the same time.
Yeah, so this was a canopy activity that we did in Kakum National Park. So that's in Cape Coast. So it's a canopy they built in the rainforest, I guess, as a challenge and walking to the various sites. So it's pretty cool, I guess, just to walk through it. It's a bit scary at first because the platform is very shaky. And, but hey, they said it's tested. They tested every day. They haven't had no incidents, so I guess it was safe. But it was amazing. It was really cool, and it was a good experience to walk through and just take in that moment. You know, a little piece of the rainforest, and we survived it, so it was pretty cool. I think we all did pretty well because some of us are scared of heights and stuff, but I think we did pretty well. Like, we all pushed ourselves to finish it. So it was a really good moment to see and capture it. So
And I just wanted to say, like, the photos does this no justice, guys. Like, it is actually really, really high. And I think that was like my first time being in like a rainforest, but like this one's a nocturnal rainforest. And I think just being there on the canopy, because I think I was the one leading the way, like I was the first person leading the way. I never felt so small because these trees are, I know the photos doesn't know justice, but I felt so small. And I think my favorite part of this excursion we did was on the way out, the tour guide was kind of pointing out to different trees and explaining like their uses. Like this tree was to brush your teeth, this one was for swollen feet, like how to fix swollen feet and stuff. And I think like in that moment, it got me thinking about like how every tree had a purpose. And I know there was a scripture somewhere in the Bible that how like God sees us like trees, each with like unique qualities. And I just thought like that was just like a beautiful moment just for me. Um, and yeah, I just thought it was cool. But these trees, guys, I felt so small in this rainforest. That's how high, because we had to walk, I think, like 89 steps just to get to our starting point. And yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
nice.
And there was an
Oh,
elderly lady that did it with us. Sorry, I had to say, how old was she? She was like almost what?
80 something.
Just 80 something, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
It was 89.
Yeah. That was crazy.
no, I don't know if she finished it though.
no, I think she walked all the
She
way
went,
up. She did one canopy. She didn't do
Yeah,
all. Yeah.
but she hiked up the hill though, which was hard.
she
Yeah,
did.
exactly.
That was not an easy hike.
Yeah.
All right. Mm,
Oh,
right. So this story is explained from many different angles. So
Oh,
each
Lord.
I'll let each person explain to their own angle of what happened because we're all in different seats, so we all experienced it in a different way. But I'll tell you the general story. So on our way back from Cape
Just
Coast,
go next first for the slide.
no, I gotta give the background.
Okay.
So on our way to Cape Coast, we were driving back. It was probably 45 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, almost time to get home. We're all tired, drained out. We did a lot of walking, and some of us are asleep, some of us are awake. I'm definitely sleeping. I was tired. I'm in the passenger seat at the front. And yeah, within a split second, literally 10 seconds, if not less, we just felt the car go off track. The van went off track, and there was a car, I guess a broken down vehicle in front of us, and the driver to avoid us. No, I'm not telling the story right. I'm telling
go
the
ahead,
story from
Dish.
my perspective. So when I
Yeah.
woke up, I just saw that we were swerving off the road, but I felt it. Like I was like, whoa, what's happening? And I heard a lot of screaming in the back. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? And like the speed at which the driver was going, like we're going to hit something. So there was a car parked, I guess a broken down vehicle, and he tried to his best not to avoid hitting it. So he swerved off the road, hit a post sign, and then boom, we landed on something hard that we didn't know at the time, right? So I was like, okay, I thought we were on some kind of ravine, so I was afraid because we were tilted a bit. So I thought like we could lean over and flip because we didn't know where we landed on initially. And I was like, okay, like everybody was panicking a little bit. We didn't know what was gonna happen, so the driver got out of his window, and then we tried to quickly work our way throughout the back because we didn't want to shift the weight of the vehicle because we didn't know what we were landed on. So not knowing is that we actually landed on a rock, a big giant rock that came out of nowhere because throughout that whole vicinity, there's no rock. this one rock is the only rock in that vicinity. It's a giant rock. So that was my take from the front driver's seat, but I'll let everybody give their take.
I mean, I think Dijah, she witnessed everything with her own two eyes, but even from my perspective, I didn't see because like you said, like it was a moment where we're all like so tired. We've been like going for like hours out the day, like from early in the morning. Most of us been up since like 6 a.m. So at this point, for me, I was just sitting like facing forward, and when it happened, my eyes were closed. I was kind of in a rested state, but at the point where like we all like felt the shift of the vehicle, it was just like my first initial reaction was I screamed. I screamed, and then when I looked, the only two people I saw was basically like Michael and Jonas at the front. And like, Michael kind of went flying, and then I just thought like I didn't know if Jonas was okay because he was at the furthest point of impact in the vehicle. So all of that kind of happened really quickly, and just like, and then when I felt like the vehicle went to a stop, and I kind of looked around, and from what I could see within the first 10 seconds, everyone appeared to be okay. I just said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Like, that's the only thing like I could have like uttered out my mouth in that moment. And then, yeah, y'all could explain your perspective.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, like I was wide awake. I was actually looking out the window, and basically there was this big truck driving adjacent to us, and we're speeding like we're on a highway. And basically our driver is trying to get ahead of the truck that's adjacent to us, but there just wasn't enough time to do so. And in front of us was a truck that was broken down. So like Jonas mentioned, instead of the driver slamming into the truck that was in front of us for a harder impact, he swerved. And as he swerved, he hit something. And then, as Jonas said, there was this huge rock that stopped us. And we didn't know that it was a rock until after. And I think, like, for me, like, just meditating, like, after the whole entire experience, it was just kind of like your life can be literally snatched away from you, like, in a heartbeat. And I'm like, I know right now we all seem so like we could talk about it, but I tell you guys, after this incident, we were so shooken up. And I don't know, like I'll speak for myself. I feel like sometimes like God has to like slam the brakes sometimes on your life, and that's what it felt like for me. And not to say like I don't think God's like punishing me, but like I almost felt like it was just like this protection. And I almost felt like that rock wasn't just like a rock to me. I'm just saying for me. I felt like it was like God saying, like, you're not in control, Dijah, I am. I felt like that was the conviction for myself personally. And it was just, I'm still packing, like I'm still unpacking it, but it was just like a lot in that moment. And I don't know. It was just like a little nudge. I don't know what else to say, but um yeah, guys, it was just like that was my first accident that I've ever been in. I don't know. I think for some of us it was their first
Yeah.
as well. And it's just crazy because it was a matter of seconds, guys. Like, imagine Jonas sleeping and he's woken up to boom, boom, boom. I'm looking out the window and it's boom, boom, boom. Michael's sitting down and he's flying up out of his seat, and we're all like, oh my God. And then when it's still, we realize we're on a tilt and we're like, oh my God, like we need to put our weight to one side or else we're gonna fall in this ditch. Like, it was just a lot going on. And like, we're just so thankful and so grateful for God. And the fact that we just had minor bruises at the speed we were going on that highway, and it being a rock, like it was just crazy, guys. I don't know. Um, yeah.
Yeah, everyone said pretty much everything, so I'm just gonna make my perspective short. I was on my phone, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, I kind of blacked out, and then I just next thing I noticed, I just see the car going down. So it looked like we were going down some hill, like there was a ditch, right? So it looked like we were going down into a ditch, and I came off my seat, and I was just looking to see where the car was going because I was like, it happened so quickly. But then all of a sudden we stopped, and like Dijah said, we landed on a rock, you know? And for that, like, there's a lot of like things that spoke to me in that the fact that we landed on a rock, there was a lot of things going in my head regarding to what that meant. Um, I can't explain, but it was an eye opener to understand that like life can hit you at any second, and the most important thing is to always be ready because you just never know. But that day I realized that, you know, I have to like make sure that um like my relationship with God is always like I'm always trying to I gotta make sure I'm always trying to build my relationship with God because I just never know. You know what I'm saying? So that's my perspective. And yeah. And to be real transparent with y'all, none of us were wearing seatbelts. So
I mean, I was.
Only
well,
Jonas is the driver.
Jonas was wearing a seatbelt because the way the car is, like you can't really sit properly. So like some people by default couldn't really wear a seatbelt, but for me, I could have. And after the fact, any car we went in, we always made sure to wear a seatbelt. And I don't know why, because in my head, I'm like,
It took
yo,
us
in
rock
Canada,
bottom to wear seatbelts.
yeah, like
And it's way more
in Canada,
dangerous there. The
in Canada,
driving
it's
is
like
terrible.
it's very bad. And like coming from here, right? It's automatic for us to put our seatbelt on. But I don't know why, like when we were over there, like we weren't really wearing our seatbelt,
I guess also like it was such a
you
big
know? So
vehicle and there were so many moving parts. Like we were always coming like by the window to purchase something or you saw a kid on the side. So it's
yeah.
kind of like you're kind of always moving around. Like we have our bags in the car. So it's kind of like a thing that was in the back of your mind. But I think after that situation and just like thinking safety and also looking at like the way that the driving on the road is, it's like if there's 2 lanes, they're making 4 lanes. Bikes are going in between, they're cutting off vehicles, they're driving on the shoulder. Like, and most of the time the road is not a paved road, it's a dirt road. So it's a lot of traction, even on the vehicle. You're swerving around 15 potholes in the road. So it's kind of like a lot of things that add to the safety in terms of the driving, not to mention all the people who are in the road also selling things. So it makes driving like very, very dangerous. You have to be extra precautious.
I just wanted to add something else about the whole like rock as well. Like, because I also feel like what was so funny, I think we're also meditating on like this rock that kind of like saved
Right.
us. But for me, it was like weird because like in the moment, I felt like for myself, like I felt like, dang, like life is so fragile. Like Dijah, like it could have been like who knows what could have happened. Like life is so fragile, but it was weird. Like seeing the rock, it was just almost like this, oh my God, God is here, like God is present, like, oh my God, the rock saved me. I know this sounds so over spiritual, guys, but like if you guys were there, like it was weird. It was like this feeling of like, oh my God, my life could have been gone. But then, oh my God, we saw this rock. I don't know how to explain this, but it's
uh,
I just had to like say that. I don't know. It's just crazy. Okay. Yeah.
uh,
Moment of truth, Nick.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just like our photo. And it's funny because this photo don't even show like the
the depth of how
depth
deep
of where we were.
that
I
ditch
know.
is.
I know.
Like, yo, it's so deep.
Like we couldn't even walk past where that photo is of that rock. We couldn't even
Yeah,
walk past that. Like this was the closest we could have gotten the photo because we would have went, yeah.
yeah. If that
You
rock
know,
wasn't there, we would have went down. Like,
and
yo, we would have went down, bro.
the amazing thing about this photo now that I'm looking at it is that the rock never moved.
It never did.
It never moved. Like at the speed at which we're going, like I mean, that rock should be flying. At least dented, like move
How did
this
he
somewhere.
land on that rock?
Hey,
I'm
that to
looking
this
at it.
day,
I've seen many accidents. I have not seen did the tire go over it? It just
We had
that is
listen,
mind
we
We don't
blowing.
really
even
don't.
know.
we
We
had
don't
We
even
hit
don't
know
know.
how.
we had actually hit like a little post before I guess getting slammed into
Landed on it. It looks
yeah.
like it's jacked up to have the tire changed.
I know a tire change. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
almost
like,
if God said, nope, not today.
I'm like, were we having a Dukes of Hazzard moment? I'm like, when do we go flying? I didn't even know when we went
Yeehaw!
flying.
Sorry.
I'm like, I don't even know where we went flying. I'm like, how did we even end up on this rock like this? I was just like, it was amazing though. It was like, I'm sorry, it wasn't amazing, but it was amazing. Like this rock stood its ground. Like there was no other rock. Like we walked the whole, not the whole strip, but some of it, and there's no rock. Only one rock. This one rock that was here,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's what was amazing.
it's milk tea magic.
And my
I'm
parents,
like, yo, we're not even noticing all these signs and stuff.
Right?
It's
Oh my
like
gosh.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even see
But
that
yeah, that
billboard.
back, that's where we had to exit all the vehicle from. And because we didn't know the rock was there, we didn't know if the vehicle was going to shift. We kind of just all had to stay to one side and just get out as fast as we could have.
Yeah. And I guess my little lesson I learned was that like we
Right.
landed on top of the rock, which is if we're gonna spiritualize it, we landed on Jesus, the cornerstone, the foundation. And sometimes our life is going downhill, and he's the one that stops us from going downhill.
Mm.
So that was like my little reflection. Like you're in the driver's seat, you think you're in control, and boom, all of a sudden you hit something and then you're going downhill and
For sure.
he just stops you in your tracks.
And I think just a point to add also is that unknowingly to us until after the fact, there were so many like people behind the scenes and even back at home who were praying. And even I remember speaking with like Shanice's mom, and her mom was telling us that that whole day, and my mom was telling me as well that like she was praying for us, and they were saying that the whole day she felt something but she didn't know what, and for some reason she was praying and she was fasting that whole day just for like everybody who was on the trip. And then this situation happened, and similarly I spoke to Michael's mom as well, and she said the same thing, that that day, like for whatever reason, she spent the day praying, and that she called the pastor and she had the pastor pray for all of us on the trip. And then when I spoke to her, she said that it was the Holy Spirit who led the car and not the driver. So I think even just that, and having like people who are also interceding for our protection, was also very important for it.
Wow, it's a real moment. We all got out alive and unscathed, and it was really good. And I just love that the attention. Like we had a lot of people call and check on us, make sure we're good, try to provide help and try to get us home. And it was a good moment to just see how many people that were in our corner and cared for us. So it was really amazing. All right, we can move on.
By the way, the next
Oh,
day we just stayed home. We didn't do nothing. Just saying.
at home.
We're supposed to go to some next far place, but after this we just stayed back and try to recollect. You feel me?
well, we
And
still went
debrief
out
the
though later on.
situation.
We went. Oh boy, we stayed local. We didn't
Yeah.
go to no far place because
Only a 2-minute drive.
to mind you, like we were coming from a 4-hour drive back to where we were. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the next day we weren't trying to do another 4 hours, We just stayed back, stayed in the city and chilled.
Had a Sabbath
My
day.
parents left the next day.
Had a Sabbath day. Literally.
Yeah.
We rested from all our excursions.
Yeah. It's amazing because that rock was the only thing stopping us from going downhill.
At the
That's gonna be the lesson for me there. That's the only thing that stops you from going downhill. So I'm grateful. I'm gonna make this my screenshot.
Mhm.
But
It stops you from going down, but also it's the fact that sometimes you don't even know that rock is there until after the fact. So
Mm.
because remember we were all trying to figure out like what
we didn't know what it was.
like what
Until
stopped
your
it from
dad
stopping.
walked down there, we didn't know what like how the car was not like tilted or anything. We didn't know.
yeah. All right, moving on. All right, you can go next.
Oh, not me scream. Michael.
Now you're muted, Mike. You're trying to talk.
Oh, okay. Can y'all hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess it's my turn now. So, we went to go visit my grandparents. Now, to be real honest, they're not really my grandparents, but I looked up to them as my grandparents because that's just how it felt. That's the relationship I have with them. But back when in 2008 when I came to Ghana, long story short, my mom said I was staying for 2 months. 2 months turned into 4 years, and these were the people that I stayed with when I was living in Ghana. And to mind you, I was a very, very bad behavioral kid. I had a bad mouth and I had no respect. But these people right here were the ones that were able to, through the midst of all my behaviors, they were the ones that were able to deal with me, look after me, and teach me wisdom and knowledge and right from wrong. And to mind you, my grandfather was a pat. He's retired now, but he was a apostle of a church called Christ Apostolic Church, and he was one of like the head pastors. And his wife was a pastor's wife who also served in the church and did a lot on his side. So growing up with them, they taught me a lot about the Bible and how important it is to follow Jesus and have a relationship with him. And even though they were teaching me all these things, I kind of understood as a kid, but unfortunately I was still being bad. But it's still they planted a seed in me, I'll say. So this was one of the most important part of my trip to meet them because this was the first time in 13 years I've seen them since I left, and they were very happy to see me. And when we came, we went up to the living room. My grandfather was able to explain to each and every single one of us the tradition of how things work when visitors come into their home, right? And how important it is to start from the right hand. So when you walk in the room, right, when you first walk in a room full of people, it's always significant in the Ghanaian culture to start shaking someone's hand from the right side using your right hand and then going from the right hand all the way to the left because that shows a sign of respect. And also, when you're serving food or water, you always start from the right side. You never start from the left because if you start from the left, that's a sign of disrespect. Or if you use your left hand to grab something or give something or to shake someone's hand, that's a sign of disrespect. So in Ghanaian culture, everything we do we always have to use the right hand, always. So another thing that's my grandmother there. She also took care of me, always cooked for me, always taught me right from wrong in the midst of my behavioral self. But yeah, I was very happy to see them. They were happy to see me, and I'm grateful that everyone got to meet them.
Just to add, I think also meeting like you and Jonas's family members, it was like an experience for us all to like meet them because we've heard so many stories about like you going back home to them and like me hearing stories from you or even like stories from your mom that your mom talked about like your experience when you went back to Ghana and things like that. So actually meeting them and like seeing them and having them like welcome us into their home with open arms and like even to pray for us and even like the culture of like serving people that when people come into your home you give them refreshments and things of that nature was just like another aspect of the culture that like we were able to witness and it was just like very heartwarming to see like how happy you were to like go back and meet these people even though part of your experience with them was like traumatizing like as a child but just showed like how much gratitude that you had and even Jonas so like to his parents and his grandparents and whatnot like how much gratitude you guys had to your upbringing and like the people that played a huge hand in like raising you and just to even see like your grandmother say to you that like she was proud of you and even proud of herself for like all the work that she did and hearing the stories of like your behaviors and like funny little stories of things that you did and how you misbehaved and things like that was just a good experience and it was I guess it was like a happy moment for us to like witness you guys you know, and your nostalgia with your family members.
Very.
And I will say that seeing them again and speaking with them gave me a lot of closure, and it made me so grateful because maybe as a kid I never understood certain things that they were trying to show me, but as an adult, going back made me realize how much they were trying to do for me to be a better man and to live a better life. And looking back, I am very grateful because if it wasn't for them being a part of my journey of being who I am today, I wouldn't be the man that God has called me to be. So I'm very grateful to God for having me be a part of having them a part of my life for those 4 years to teach me morals and standards and about Jesus just to be where I'm at today.
Next. Next.
All right, so yeah,
One more.
yeah. Okay, so when I lived in Ghana from 2008 to 2012, I went to a school called Blessed Schools Complex. Now, the reason I went to that school is because my grandparents' daughter also went to that school as well. So this is basically, at the time, it was a private international school. It's different now. It's more local, but back then we had a lot of international students coming to the school and stuff. And so on the far left picture, this guy's name is Baba. He's actually the security guard of that school. He's been the security for that school for 30 years to this date. And this guy always used to, so in Ghana, if you're a bad kid or if you do something wrong, they have something called a cane, and they use that to lash you as a sign of punishment to teach you a lesson to not do what you did bad again ever again, you know? So anytime I did something bad, I always tried to escape and run through this guy's area. And he always used to lash my legs and it hurts so bad. So when I brought up that story to Dijah and them, he started laughing because um I guess he remembered that, yeah, that's what he used to do and stuff. So yeah, but the person that really truly came to me is her name is Mummy Vida. So that's the woman that's wearing the kente, or the one that I'm hugging. And she's the owner of that school. And um she's the one that straightened me up. Like when I came to that school, I was a very bad kid, and again, I had no respect. I didn't know how to talk to people the right way. And this when I first met her, she had this big cane on her desk. And I asked her, what is that for? And she told me, well, if you behave yourself, then you wouldn't have to if you behave yourself, then I wouldn't have to use this on you, something like that. It's not the exact words, but I remember like yesterday. So when we saw her, she explained that same story, and yeah, but um, meeting, coming back to the school and seeing her gave me a lot of closure, because it taught me, it showed me how this woman wanted the best for me, and she just seemed like a young, stubborn boy that had a lot of behavior issues, and she just wanted to help me to become a better man, because she knew that the life that I lived could have ended me up in a bad place, but she didn't want that for me. So going back to see her and her being happy to see me and being proud of me for what I'm doing now, like it gave me a lot of closure, and it made me grateful to God to have a woman like that a part of my life. So, yeah, that's it.
No.
Such a nice group photo.
Yeah, so that's a group photo of all of us and stuff.
Nice.
Not nice. And this was my dungeon. Joking.
Dungeon.
Really was.
But yeah, I'll just go briefly again. Coming here, this was a school I attended in 2009. This is pre-sec, so it's a Presbyterian Catholic, I guess, yeah, Catholic institution, I guess, to
Okay.
teach you discipline with God and mannerisms and being able to be responsible. So this is kind of the school grounds, what it looks like now. So they've let the school run down a little bit. I guess they haven't been upkeeping the grounds too good, but yeah, that's where it's at right now. So as you can see, those are the rooms. That's where we slept in every night. It looks like a dungeon because that's how it felt. You live sleeping in bunk beds, and yeah, that was what it was. But and as bad as it looks, it wasn't that bad because like there's a certain a level of feeling together when we're all suffering together. You have a lot of brotherhood, and out of it, I formed some great relationships. Friends that I still call friends today. My brothers, and we connected with one of them when we were down there, and the one that's over here. So, out of this thing that looks very unfortunate, it was the first time I got introduced to Jesus Christ, like being preached to, someone preaching the gospel to me. And yeah, the first time I learned about the Bible, reading the Bible, praying, going to church, so that's the highlight of my experience. I will never, as bad as it may have looked at that time, the greatest thing was being able to know about Jesus Christ and being introduced to him and making some long lasting friendships. So that's really all I got to say about the school. There's a lot of stuff I could share, but I'm not gonna get into that. Uh, yeah, but I'm just glad to come there and have that closure moment, and it was good to see it again.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to quickly add one thing about my school too, because what Jonas said reminded me that the school I went to was also where I really and truly got to know who Jesus was, because Mommy Vital is very big on us reading our Bibles, fasting, and doing something called all night, where you stay up all night and you pray for hours and hours and hours. So yeah, I just want to throw that in there.
Right. Next. Yeah, you can go. All right. So this picture, the lady in the middle, that's Madame Bafoboni. So she's actually the acting, I guess ASP. She's the top director in Ghana in terms of law. So she's a lawyer by profession. But she also works in the Ghana Prison Services as an acting attorney general. So she's a very high lady. Her and my dad were in the same course, I guess when they started the academy at the same time. So they're very close friends till this day. So every time my dad goes back to Ghana, he always visits her. He has food there to catch up on old times. So she knew me as a kid. So it was good connecting with her again the second time around. But hopefully next time we'll get to sit down and actually ask her some questions, get to know her a little bit better. So it's just very cool that like such a high person in society would even make time for you, you know. So I felt like it was very cool because like, you know, like being in her presence and not anybody could be in her presence like that. But like she's such an amazing woman, like a natural born leader. And like you could tell like when we first met her, like the people that are under her, like her command, like they respect her a lot, but she's so free with them. Like she's laughing, cracking jokes with them. But at the same time, she's also like very hardcore and very serious. So it's like you just get that balance from her. So it was amazing to be around her again and hopefully get to know her some more as the time goes on. But it was a cool time to, you know, see where my dad was in a prison when he was in Accra working there and the barracks that I grew up in as well. We didn't get to show photos of that, but it's just a barracks that we used to live in right beside the prison. Mhm. But yeah, these are just some photos that we caught in town, which was really cool. Went to the museum with the first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah. So we learn about the history of, we know what he did for Ghana and emancipation and, you know, giving Africa, Ghana being the first country to be independent from the colonial master. You know, going to the Independence Square, going to the market, you know, and yeah, just experiencing the culture. So it was really cool. And this is Mokola Market, so it's the biggest market in Ghana. I think it might be the biggest in West Africa. I'm not sure, but it's a pretty big market. It's very overwhelming. There's a lot going on. People
Yeah.
selling everything left to right. It's a lot. But you know, my auntie was there, Auntie Christy. She's the one wearing the leather print. So she took us around and showed us around where to buy what we needed to buy. Yeah, so we're glad for her because we probably don't know what we were doing if she wasn't there. So I'm just glad that she was there to help navigate that and be around. And I passed the ball over to my wife.
No, I have nothing to say. I'm just saying, thank God for Auntie Christie. We would have been lost.
I
And
know, but your ball is coming soon.
oh,
All
oh,
right, next.
sorry.
Oh, she
Hold
didn't.
on.
Never mind. Anyways, yeah. So that's more Macola Market.
This is me. I was just trying to like lift the merchandise. I thought it was so cool because, like I said, everyone does it everywhere in Ghana. So I really wanted to try it out, and yeah, it was great. I did really well.
Yeah, go next. Yeah, some more culture, food, coconut,
Yeah,
pretty much it.
next.
Yeah, and this is when we went to the art center in Accra. So this is where people sell things, you know, fabric, art, jewelry, you know, handmade items. So it's pretty cool going in there and, you know, bargaining with the ladies. Everybody's trying to make $1. So everybody's bargaining, trying to, you know, feed their family or do whatever they got to do. So we learn about bargaining really well. We've been there twice. So we learned how to bargain in the market. And yeah, it was a cool experience. It was really dope. Got some nice gear, nice stuff that we're going to be wearing hopefully this summer.
I don't know.
Oh gosh.
All right. So
Oh my
you had the opportunity to go to church in Ghana. But I do want to preface that like this was just one church we went to. So it's not a good representation of church in Ghana because we didn't get to go. This is just my friend's church that he invited us to. So that was his church, that was his vibe, that was what was going on at the time. I can't speak for every church in Ghana, but this is what we experienced. And so
We might have to share this one a different night with this church.
yeah,
New
I'm not
church.
gonna get too much into it because it's a lot, and I know it's like getting
Yeah.
late. But just to quickly brush it off, like it was an interesting experience. I think coming from here, everything we learned at DFM, it really showed like how our mentality was so different when it comes to God versus being in church in Africa, and you know how some of the principles in Africa is so strong, like you know, like prosperity gospel and putting on a show, trying to like connect with the people in like a very dramatic way. So I feel like we saw a lot of that in this church. It was just a lot of oohs and ahs, and there's a lot of dramatics in the church, you know. I guess it's just a drama type of church. They had a lot of dancing, a lot of acting, a lot of singing. It just felt like a concert, basically. Like there was a lot going on. We had our own little reflections of the whole thing, but it was just interesting to see, you know, just how they perceive church over there in that specific church. You know, I'm sure other churches might be different, but that's their specific church, that's their culture. So it was just interesting to see how it was, and I think that itself was an experience, and we learned a lot, and we're grateful for like, you know, people like Brian to push you to read the Word of God and some of the foundations in DFM and just certain things that we've learned. And just showed me how grateful we are, like we push to learn about the things of God and reading the Bible, and how like some people don't do that and they become so ingrained in church culture and not having Jesus culture. Like they just follow whatever the church does versus actually learning about Jesus for themselves, you know. So that was what was interesting. Yeah. But you could play the videos. Yeah. So yeah, it was very dramatic church. That's just my opinion. And they know how to put on a show. That's the best way I could say it. And that was cool. I mean, the worship was good. We liked the worship. I think that was my favorite part. Um, it just kind of became too dramatic at that point, but it was cool. The word was decent, I guess. I understood the message. But I just feel like the church was full of a lot of theatrics and drama and you know, but I guess that they were waiting for the pastor to arrive, so that's probably why too. They probably had to keep it going to keep him stalling, so because he was on his way from another country. But all in all, it was it was okay experience. It was something to experience, and yeah.
Next.
Mhm. Nice.
Next.
I guess this is Mike meeting some of his schoolmates. So people he went to school with that visited us at the house. Got to speak with them a little bit. I guess Mike's friends from his school.
Yeah, those are just his friends that he went to school with from the same school that he talked about before. So for him, he just expressed to me that it was one of his favorite moments because he hadn't seen them in like so long. And like some of them, he just connected with them like on social media. So seeing them like after so many years and like talking about like memories from back then and like catching up on what they're doing now. So that was his favorite moments.
Yeah, what she said.
Next.
Look at we got Shani's extra favorite moment. Like they were like trying on clothes from the market.
Then we got
It was
Reniece.
really exciting.
Hey.
We bought a lot of clothes, guys. It was a lot of fun. And then Jonas and Michael with their Gary.
Gary.
I call
So
it.
Is that food?
is this a snack? Like
Oh,
Okay,
Nick.
okay.
Nick.
the snack that
We'll
we
save a
used to eat in
package for you.
school?
We'll save a package for you, and you let me know if it's
You can
Trust me,
try it.
Nick. You'll love it. You'll love it. You'll love
I
it.
This
don't
is
think
what it
so.
is.
You'll love it, Nick.
You just have to try
Yo,
This is
it.
my
yo, wearing it
snack
like a
at work.
scarf, so it must be
It's,
good.
it's basically what we used to eat in school, like as a snack.
Yeah.
We used
We
to
don't know what
hustle.
it is either.
We used to barter for this food, trade for it.
This was currency.
Currency, man. It was big currency.
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
think
this is our
just to,
canteen.
just to add, one of my favorite moments on the trip was just like I guess the moments that we didn't catch on camera where we were just like spending time together. And there was a moment when we went to Quaalude, and we were staying in Jonas's mom's house that she's still like working on. And there was no Wi-Fi, like there was no TV. So we kind of just had to like entertain ourselves. And instead of like using our phones, even though we had service there, we just kind of all sat around in the living room and we were just like singing different like old hymns and worship songs and just dancing and like kind of goofing off. And like Jonas was singing like a deep bass tone, and it was just like a fun moment where we were all just like present in that moment and we were able to just fellowship together and like just spend time together as brothers and sisters in Christ. So that was one of my favorite moments on the trip.
Yeah.
And then we'll end it off. I think this is the last slide.
Teacher's video.
Last slide. Guys, I was doing really well. Okay.
I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that was gonna happen.
That's harder than it looks.
It's Nicholas, trust me. We'll talk about it another day. My neck muscle is activated.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that was gonna happen. I'm glad I caught it on video.
I respect you.
But just the last thing was that in the beginning, I was like, when Dijah went to do it, I was like, no, don't do it. Because I was like, just don't do it.
Can't stop me.
You know, I was just in my head, I was like, oh my God, please, you're gonna drop this lady stuff.
We all wanted to try, but
We're all gonna
pay.
we're all gonna pay this lady for her merchandise, you know.
Right?
But you know what? Now, like I really look back on it, like I respect my wife a lot because she would do things that like people wouldn't normally want to do or want to try to do that. I mean, most people, like, hey, let me go put your merchandise on my head. Like nobody would go think about doing something like that. So I want to like applaud her for having the courage and being
For
brave
sure.
to do that. And yeah, you know, she dropped it, and probably she would have dropped it because you don't have that balance and you don't even know how it feels like to put something on your head. But like I just like the fact that like she was up to the task of doing it and trying it out. And thankfully we didn't destroy none of her stuff.
Yeah,
And
no
so-
merchandise was ruined in the process.
She was smart about it. She didn't
Should have bought the damaged goods.
Yeah, guys. Sorry this was long for us to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but you have to
There's so
compress
much.
This is
compress
a
it
condensed
in a
version.
short time.
Brian's probably gonna fall asleep.
You
Brian
came
didn't
on
even
for a
make the
bit.
30 minutes.
Oh,
Andrew,
Man, thank y'all for putting that together and sharing your experience with us. That was pretty awesome. When you saw your grandma, Jonas, that was pretty touching. The way she was looking at you, man, like that was like, tell she loves you. She missed you. I guess one of the questions I have is, while you were at church, did you get to talk to that guy about DFM, or talk to him about what you know about Jesus?
Like my friend?
Yeah, the one day you said you went to the church with.
Oh, like his church. No, we
Right.
didn't really. I don't think so. No, we didn't actually. Him and I didn't really have a conversation about God or anything. Like it didn't come up. We didn't really. I think we were just so enamored by the moment of his church that kind of overtook like the whole day, and just talking about it and laughing about it a little bit. But we didn't create. I mean, I didn't
Nice.
create any
Yeah, it
opportunity.
looked like an American church, a big mega
Yeah,
church.
it was. It was. Yeah, it was. But no, we didn't really talk about DFM or like talk about his faith or where he's at in God. I think we're just really on vacation mode, I guess. We just really, and I guess a lot was happening really fast every day. Like there's a lot to do every single day. So that's something, that was a good moment, good reflection though. We didn't really create time for that.
I think on the trip though, we did have a lot of conversations about different things, but I think it was more like people having individual conversations. So like if you were to the side, like with Mark, like you had a certain conversation about it. So that did come up, but not like more so planned conversation, but more so just impromptu conversation, just getting to know people and where they're at.
Wow. Andrew asked a question and he ran away. Like, he's like, all right,
Psych.
peace out.
He's wilder than Zacchaeus.
Yeah, it's wild.
Okay.
Well, I know it's late, y'all. Sorry for keeping y'all guys. Um, yeah.
Well,
I
one more
felt,
thing to say before I stop the recording.
oh, go ahead.
No, you can stop it. I think
Okay.
nothing else. Thank you.